AP,
Hey now, what's going
how you doing,
on?
buddy? Look
I'm
at
doing
me over
great.
here. Look at this. Look at Swan and Noah.
Swan and Noah.
It's so nice out.
It's still here. It is still here, just out on the deck. We had a couple of punks throw a couple of our nice deck chairs off the deck last night and smash them on the ground. Bunch of little.
You're trying to say punks, Casey, but
kids.
is there a part of you that thinks back to you and Colby growing up? And
Oh, we would have never done that. I would not be here if I had ever done anything like that. My parents would have murdered me.
KP, what's the worst thing you did as a child that you did not get caught doing?
Wow. My kids are in the business. I got two older ones, Kyle and Michaela, but I had a dirt bike, so it was classic to run away from the cops, So,
yeah.
yeah. That'll
just zip up into the woods if you need to, right?
Oh yeah. That gets your blood pressure running.
I got to be honest. I was in my Polaris probably 3 years ago, driving. I went to the gas station. Now the 4x4, the UTVs are legal. You can actually drive them here now on the roads. I don't know if it's like that in Florida, but at the time I was just going down to gas it up, and I was coming back on my road and past the cop. And I had 2 seconds to make a decision. I either floor it or I could pull over and wait for this guy to pull me over. I floored it and ducked into my driveway, and I saw him fly by, and he didn't see me. He didn't see me pulling in the driveway. So I have recently ran from the cops, I guess.
Yeah. There you go.
Hope that's not sharing too much.
No, you might be a builder if you found yourself running from the cops.
Right.
Exactly. Oh man.
We've all had to overcome some challenges in our past to get to where we are today.
I know, you're right. I
want to say, KP, we appreciate you jumping on too. I just reached out to KP this morning. He and Casey were catching up, talking about a little bit about business and a lot about life. And KP, I just want to say it was cool for me to be on the spring tours and get to meet your oldest son there. And we're kind of coming up on Father's Day here in a week and a half, and just thought that was a very cool experience to meet an individual that was he was just so kind, so considerate, so thoughtful. It was cool spending a couple minutes for me. And just from your perspective, buddy, what is that like, spending some time at an event like that with your oldest son and family members? I know you've got a couple in the business now.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Kevin Purdy, direct to Symmetry, direct to Linwood Watkins. Really grateful to be a part of Symmetry now with you guys for over 10 years. And Brian and Casey and Brandon, you guys is killing it. And Spivey, we go way back now too, because you've been Brandon and Casey's best buddy. I was in a wedding, attended a wedding in Kennesaw, Georgia. It was a pretty cool little area. And the bride and groom were going to St. Lucia, and I was like, I've been to St. Lucia and had some good times with both you guys in St. Lucia.
That's right.
So, but it's really neat to have your family in the business working. Friends of ours here in Ponte Vedra, Florida, they own a family business, and on Memorial Day I asked her, they own this big ski place called Peter Glenn. You buy all your ski stuff from it. And I said, give us some advice on working with family, because they do that. And she goes, it can be challenging, but extremely rewarding. And the rewards outweigh anything of the challenges coming together and growing as a team. And I think I see that with my kids, how they're growing, Kyle and Michaela, developing in the business and maturing. And it's really good to have them in that community. Michelle and my wife had thought about maybe after, they get out of school, we were telling them, you don't have to do this, it's almost like, go out and see how the real world is. But, I know a lot of us around here have said is like, what type of environment, what type of culture do you want your family ones, your loved ones around? You know, I know Delaney says it all the time. Like, do you want them around that aggressive manager might be on his third marriage, you know, bad attitude and all that, or in this environment? And so it's neat to see him come in here and develop and grow. And I think, Todd, what Kyle said to you the other day was really cool, is like, you know, he's the same guy up there as he was, you know, driving his Honda Civic in Spotsylvania. So it's cool. Working out well.
Yeah, awesome, definitely. It was interesting to talk to him and ask him what it was like seeing Dad up there on that stage and, you know, presenting in front of 500 people. And he said, you know what, just seemed like my dad up there, you know, which was very cool to me. And, you know, he did make a comment that he could have predicted a few of the dad jokes that did flow. So he had that insight. But we asked Kevin to hop on, Casey. I know you and Brandon are going to talk a little bit more on the national call, but for the builders call today, you know, let's just say for just a teaser, I know you've been very busy, head down in the sand, plowing forward, making sure that we've got this thing rock solid for years to come. Your recent trip to New York, in one word, what would you say? What was the experience like?
One word would be validating, I would say. But I'm going to need more words to explain what I mean by that, probably.
Let's say my follow-up question would be, please explain validate.
Please explain what that means. Yeah, you know, we just got back last week, I guess it was, and we were up there for 3 or 4 days and had nonstop meeting after meeting up there. We went to an InsurTech conference for a day, and kind of was there really a little, not as a company or a sponsor or anything like that, more as kind of observers. However, we were surprised that we were fairly quickly recognized by some of the vendors we use from a contracting standpoint, or some of the other things where they were like, oh, Quility, y'all are our largest by far customer, that type of thing. So that kind of stuff is kind of nice and validating. But we were really there to kind of soak up a little bit about where the industry is, where you know, competitors might be that are kind of working on what we're working on, which, you know, digitizing and transforming a space in an industry that needs transforming. And, you know, I think it was just validating because we believe that, you know, we have an unbelievable opportunity as a company because of our position and the fact that, you know, there's been so much consolidation all around us. You know, 1 to 2 companies have basically bought every single IMO like ours. There's literally no one left of size whatsoever. There's even no one left of the small size, and except for us. And so, you know, if I'm an agent in the industry right now, you have a couple different things you're seeing. You're seeing consolidation of agencies. And when an agency is focused on consolidating and buying other agencies, that's their thing. They're focused on acquiring companies. They're not focused on innovation. The other thing I'm seeing on the other side of the coin is companies trying to do it without agents that are now laying off. Policy Genius just laid off 25% of their employees. You know, Lemonade, all these companies that got these big inflated tech bubble type valuations are now starting to crack under the pressure of, how are y'all actually going to make money? These companies that are valued at $2 and $3 billion, were valued at $2 and $3 billion, are not only laying people off, but they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars. They're not profitable. And so it was very validating to hear from investors, from people that want to kind of put money into the company, people that are very aware of what's going on in our space, to say, you guys are an absolute unicorn right now. You have self-funded this thing. You have not went out and, you know, taken money from all kinds of capital partners to do this. You've self-funded a company. There's stability. There's 12 years of, you know, 30% plus growth every year, year over year. and you have invested in the right things, you've been good stewards of the capital that you have personally put into the company, to the tune where, you guys are now basically the largest digital provider of life insurance, and all we've done is develop one product. And we can say quite confidently right now that we are the number one digital insurance provider just with Quility level term. And, Brandon was on calls this morning with the next, again, we have a product roadmap of 3, 4, 5, products, one or two of which you guys will be hearing about in Denver, that are new carriers to the space, new products to the space, completely digital, drastically different than anything I've seen for the last 20 years in this space. And then you add to that the software, the technology, MyQuility, everything we're building behind the scenes. That trip was extremely validating. No one else in the space is doing what we're doing. And so again, as leaders, all of us on this call, what we share is that we understand that there's a lot of capacity for growth. There's a lot of capacity to grow a business. And there's a massive gig economy of people out there looking to be entrepreneurs, and they need to find a vehicle that produces income for them. And there's a lot of agents that are already in the space that aren't in the position of, being a CEO and being able to sell a company to, XYZ consolidator. All of those acquisitions, all of the consolidation, the only people that's helping are the people selling their companies. That's it. And so if you're an agent out there, where are you going to plant your flag in the next 24 months? You're going to plant it here. And so all of us on this call right now better be ready for the wave of agents coming our way over the next 12 to 24 months, because no one else is focusing on making the end game for an agent and a client better. And the person that makes the agent's world and the client's world better wins. That's our focus. So that was a lot to sum up one word, but that's how it feels.
No, it's good. And I would say, and Kevin can back me up here, I'd like to get his opinion on this as well as your, Casey's. But when you talk about innovation, it's certainly something Quility's doing right now. A lot of which has been rolled out to you. Some will be at conference. A lot of it's even more forward thinking, planning for the next 3, 5, 10 years ahead. But with all the innovation we have going, with all the bonuses that we offer, with all the cool new programs, all the types of new lead sources that we're out there trialing right now behind the scenes, how do you keep your agents right now, Casey and Kevin, focused on the right thing, the main thing, and to not get too caught up in all the bells and whistles that are out there right now that could be tempting at times?
I love that question, because I do think, Kevin, that's it's a potential byproduct of all the goodies that we have rolling out is, a little confusion, a little anxiety, a little just like, I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I don't, especially with new agents coming in, and there's like so much value being built into the company. Like, how do I hit it all? How do I talk about it all? How do I, and then to your real pointed question there, Spivey, what do I actually do with that information with my agents? And Kevin, I would love your comments on this too, but I would just knee jerk to that is your job as a leader is to, I would use that stuff as a way, what I want people to leave a meeting or an interview or whatever it is feeling like, because I want them to leave that feeling like right place, right time, right company. Now, what I do with that energy is, that's my job as a leader, is I want to direct motion. I want to direct that energy into a way that puts money into their bank account. And that's why you guys probably get tired of me hearing me talk about the 2 boxes, but I would take that energy and I would focus it all on the 2 boxes. I would focus it all on, Kevin, all this stuff is great, but all of it goes to support you filling those 2 boxes. So let's not get too bogged down in everything that's happening with the company. Let's focus on how many leads are you getting to fill that first box? How many conversations are you having to fill up that second box? And, again, if you're brand new on the builder's call, those 2 boxes are personal production on the left and interviews on the right. So how many appointments do I need on the left to pay my bills and have surplus? And how many interviews do I need on the right to get into that double-digit recruiting type world? And then if I'm going to spend time helping people to understand that, and for any of you leaders on the call, don't just kind of tune out when you hear the 2 boxes stuff. Everyone on the call should be thinking about, how do I optimize my business and my life in a way that allows me to fill those 2 boxes easier? If I just really kind of analyze what I did and what Brandon did early on in our business, it was about, as kind of entrepreneurs, my job was to make my work easier, and to get me in the strength zone more of the time. So what are all of the activities that I do during the week, or that come up for me during the week from a business standpoint, that keep me from doing the very 1 or 2 items that fill those 2 boxes? And so some of your job as a leader is not just to direct energy, it's to kind of take the friction out of someone's work and life and say, how do you optimize all that? And a lot of times it's not about getting up and grinding for 18 hours a day. That's not the message I'm trying to tell people. That's not what you should be thinking about as an entrepreneur. Is not how do I wake up earlier at 4 a.m. and grind it until 10 a.m. No, you should be trying to figure out how to make life easier. You should be trying to figure out how to make work easier. And the way you do that is you look for, Kevin, this is exactly what you were talking about this morning. How are you investing in the business? Early on, I was like, Sarah would come in and she would help backfill a lot of that time, so that I really spent time in that strength zone. I was good at the sales part. I was good at the recruiting part, the leadership kind of development part of things. I wasn't good at a lot of other things, and she would just take that stuff off me. If you don't have a spouse or a partner, invest in someone part-time. Well, I don't have enough money. Well, it's because you're not filling the first box enough. Kevin, is that similar to kind of how, it's very similar to what you and I were talking about this morning, as far as what's been on your mind and your team's mind lately?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that Symmetry has done very well is you're kind of like that mile marker, that goal post, that end zone of like, what should we be aspiring to grow to and become? And so you look at, first of all, what we're really talking about, what benefited me starting here at Symmetry was leverage. Like I didn't have 400K to buy a franchise. I didn't have the connections, the know-how. So one of the things that attracted me was I can get leads. So the reality here is you have to invest in leads, and to put consistently that volume. Yeah, my button just popped off. To put over consistently 400 600 whatever numbers, you need to leverage your mentor. You need to talk about that. The other thing on the building side is if you're trying to scale your business, sometimes we talk to people like, oh, it must have been really cool in the beginning and watching folks grow their businesses. But what I saw was, you guys had a recruiting department. You invested in recruiters. Then what I watched Linwood get an office. I watched Linwood invest in recruiters. And by doing all that what you're talking about, Casey, that freed his time up. So then guys that like myself paying attention to Linwood, on the other side, you had Edward Pritchett doing the same thing. Delaney, we were like, how can we scale our businesses like Linwood, like Edward, which they had modeled after you guys. So if you mentioned all these new agents coming in the next 24 months, how can you right now leverage your time and your finances to be ready to accommodate those people? And if you're kind of stuck where you're an agency owner, agency director, and you might be there for 2 years, 3 years, if you honestly check, like, have you invested in recruiters? So like all the things we're talking about, have you invested in a recruiter and admin? Are you leveraging money and time? And what example is that showing your agents? If you kind of just all of a sudden aren't scaling up, then typically the people that are following you could do this, the very well same thing. They just don't strive, they don't go for it as much. And I was thinking, Casey, what we were talking about today, like I really, when it comes to like an agency director or above, I've never heard here a story at Symmetry where I've never heard like from somebody say, I invested in 2 recruiters, I invested in an admin, and I invested in some more leads, and I put a little more time in, and it didn't work.
Absolutely. Yep.
I've never heard that before. So
yep.
It takes a little getting out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like we can look at the numbers, it gets down to unique writers, your attitude, filling those 2 boxes, helping protect families. Now you have some extra money to invest in your business, and people like that.
That's it, man. It truly is, like, again, like I'm constantly trying to elevate the work that I'm doing, and the way that I'm able to do that is with cash flow. And you're right. It's about investing that cash flow in a way that goes to making your business easier, and it optimizes things to your benefit. And a lot of that is human capital. A lot of that is finding people that can book more interviews for you, that can do more marketing for you, that can book more appointments for you than you're already booking, that can handle some of the admin stuff that comes up. Like, everyone should be figuring out a way to make their life easier. And that's not just like using the tools and software and technology that Symmetry uses. Don't just think that Symmetry is going to do it all. We're going to do as much as we can. And make that stuff easy, plug and play. But some of it's going to involve office. Some of it's going to involve human capital. You're going to have to learn to do that. But again, until you have the cash to do it, you're always playing in a weak position. You have to be able to generate that cash flow. And so, whatever that looks like for you, it's probably going to look like more appointments. It might just be, people don't think about like the difference between 12 appointments a week and 15 appointments a week. Most of you out there could book an extra 3 to 4 appointments a week right now and double your profit, because it takes you 8 or 10 appointments just to get to your break even. And so that extra 3 or 4 appointments you've been running a week is your profit. And that, when you see that margin right there, you've got to lean in that extra 3 or 4 appointments, because that allows you to double that margin with just a little bit more work. It's that little bit extra that people miss that keeps you from having the cash flow you need to make your work and life a little easier. And, not just optimizing your work life, how are you optimizing your personal life? I've always been, I don't know what the word is, but like, it's not lazy, but it's like, I've heard someone say ambitiously lazy before. It's like, I want to make stuff easy. I think about my time a lot. Some of it's maybe how I grew up, but I think about even like my hair. It's like my haircut as an example. I still have hair for a little while, hopefully. And so I get a haircut once a month. And I used to drive to Asheville. I was telling the Colburn agency this. I used to drive downtown Asheville, 20 minutes downtown. I got to find parking for 10, 15 minutes, get my haircut, come back home. Like, I could just get this guy to come to my house. So my barber comes to my house and people say, "Wow, that's bougie." And it kind of is bougie, but it's also saves me what feels like a couple hours a month. That little stuff adds up, it adds up. So good question, Spivey.
I like it. Just thinking about too, with the so many opportunities.
Just one example, by the way, the haircut thing. That's not meant to say that everyone should do that. I'm just saying that's one small example of how you need to look at your life and look at the things that you do and try to optimize things, not just from a time standpoint, but from an energy and an ease standpoint. Like, think about how things are laid out in your house, and if you do something every single day, and I have to kind of go over here and get that and then bring it back over here, I'm just going to move that from here over to here.
Yeah. I think about it, Casey. Like, I know there's there's opinions on both sides here. So just make your own mind up. But you listen to Mark Cuban talk about the fact that he made a decision long ago to quit making his bed. And a lot of people said, well, why would you not make your bed? That's showing a lack of discipline. He said, when you add up all the time that you would spend in your life making up your bed, that equates to something like 10 extra work days a year for me.
Yeah.
He said, so I had to let that one go. So there's lots of different ways that we can make up time to put in more effort into recruiting and setting more appointments. And I would say KP did a great job. So many people in the spring tours have done a great job. The energy for Denver and recruiting to conference, I think, is at an all-time high. And, Casey, KP, with your experience, talk to a little bit about the importance of not just conference, but this particular conference in Denver, with all the rollouts and changes in the industry that we see. Why is the timing about Denver so important this year compared to years in the past?
Well, first of all, we haven't been together in a while. It felt great to be in Orlando. So you have that association. That's a really big part of being on the team here at Symmetry. You're going to see some, what conference also helps a lot of us do is gives us a vision. Like, that's where we're going. This is what we're growing to. We all get that buy-in and tie-in that, this is why we're working, and we see the rewards from that. So vision is important. The other thing is, my first conference, I rolled in the day conference started. Big mistake. So you want to make sure you get there on the 16th August, leave on the 20th. That's definitely important. And then the other advice I'd recommend everybody is bring your spouse, bring your partner, get them there. Made that mistake the first conference, like, you're all right. And it wasn't a must. When it becomes a must, you have to be there. This is a game changer. If you heard all this stuff before, if you can't afford it, you can't afford not to be there. And isn't that what everybody wants? Like, I saw you talking about bougie stuff, Casey. I was making play like John Mayer in the office here, playlist, or Dave Matthews, and Michaela says, "Oh, Dave Matthews playing in town here in Jacksonville." I'm like, "Oh, I haven't seen him yet. I got to go see that. How have I not seen Dave Matthews?" And so just like 5 years, went and got 2 great tickets, like great dead centers. Awesome. Great show. Dave put it 3 hours he played.
That's awesome.
And so, I'm thinking about like all this, just the bouginess of it all, and having that opportunity just to go.
Yeah.
I forgot my point. Isn't that terrible? Man, did I drink too much coffee?
I think you've kept it well together, considering your shirt button popped off.
I know.
You can't contain the sexiness over there.
About going to conference. Sorry. So I'm like in my first Dave Matthews concert, and everybody's like, "Man, I was here. This is my 73rd show," and I'm like, "Oh." Like, wow, this is it. And you get into these communities, like you hear people like saying, "I was number 112 employee at Google," or whatever. And this is an opportunity where you can come in here, see the vision of Symmetry, see where we're going, and make a decision that you want to be a part of it, and you can scale up to it. And I'm telling you, I've seen people like I'm on my team here. We have the Matthews Direct Agency, the Summers Direct Agency, the Gainey Direct Agency, Fine Agency. We have all these agencies that are just growing and leading the charge to get to Denver and scaling the business. Paul Bine, if you're brand new here and you're like, "Can I grow a business quickly here?" Does it have to take 10 years? You see Slingshot right now. It doesn't have to take what it took 6 months. You can scale and grow a business really fast here with all the investment that Symmetry has put in. And we're just asking you, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself, invest in others, and you'll be handsomely rewarded. I promise you, by going to Denver.
Question is not, should you be there? It should, how many people can you get there with you? And if everyone on this call would just kind of, put some thought into that, if you're not already, like, what would an extra 10 people sitting beside me at that conference mean? It would mean you'd be making a big impact on a lot of people's lives. And financially, it would probably be around $50,000 a year of passive income that would spin off of that group of agents or people that you would have with you at conference. I mean, we big on data, always have been, but even better now that we've got the right the people in the mix, and we can look at that kind of data and say, for every person that comes to conference, it's worth this much to you. So that's what everyone should be focusing on. Get an owner's pack, fill it up. Get another owner's pack, fill it up. Get another owner's pack, fill it up. Pack that place out. Let's go into massive overflow and make it the best conference we've had yet, because I'll tell you about what's coming as far as rollouts and stuff goes. Just hang on tight. You're gonna want a bunch of
that's
people.
The same message that Casey just shared that I heard, 10 years ago. The message has not changed. It's like, get 10 people plus a conference and watch how your business grows.
Always applies. Yep. Yeah, you're right, man. Love it. All right, we're 2 minutes into the national call, aren't we?
Yes, sir. KP, we appreciate you hopping on, buddy, and joining us as always,
Brady.
man, and everything that you do and just the kindness that you share. And so cool to get to meet your family, and thanks for hopping on and sharing with us. And I know we'll be seeing you a lot more of you really soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Take care, Symmetry.
Long time listener, first time caller, Kevin Purdy. Love your show.
Pull your mic in there, Brando.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was sliding it out of the way. How's that? Is that a little better?
First time caller. That reminds me of the old Paul Feinbaum days.
Yeesh.
No?
You wanna see the worst of society turned into a Paul Feinbaum.
Has there ever been somebody to stir the pot more than Paul Feinbaum?
It's he's a professional, man. He knows how to do it. Man, so I just found out that today's special guest is me. What do you think about that? We got Jason Ditson on, we got Casey Watkins on. This is good, man. I got an extra cup of coffee. We can have like a Stump the Brandon. I want to play Stump the Ditson at some point, man. Anytime somebody asks me about like a product, a carrier, or anything, I'm like, watch this. Send it over to Jason, and he's like,
3 years now.
Stump the
Ditson. Headshot, you'll understand. He's the meanest product expert there ever was.
That's a great headshot, by the way, Ditson. Share that in a minute. Looks fantastic.
When it comes to products.
Looks like a robot. Doug, you got a special announcement today as well, man. So, Casey, any wise banter from you before we get started? They've already been hearing from you. Inquiring minds want to know about your bicycle behind you, what that's all about. It looks like that's a
bike. I never ride it anymore. That kind of bike.
So you don't ride it to work every day and leave it there? No. You could though.
It's just a piece of art at this point.
If your Audi breaks down, you have a secondary source to get back home if you need to. How's that?
That's true. It is a backup.
You're in the insurance business.
That's right.
It's your own personal little transportation insurance.
That's right.
I like it. All right, B-Dubs, you got some announcements too, man. I'm going to get going.